BC government declares a province-wide state of emergency over the wildfire situation, especially what's going on in Kelowna. Many people are pointing at climate change, but arson seems to be the talk of the town. Red alert. In the summer of 2023, Canadians woke up to the reality of climate change amid fire and smoke. Now that we have seen and smelled the future, what do we do? Well, I woke up this morning to a brisk global warming, 12 degrees with the window open. Wow, boy, did I need to wrap myself in the blankets this morning as that took place. What is really going on here in Canada? There's the massive calls for of climate change being the cause and the culprit of all of this, but it doesn't seem like the weather that we're witnessing, it matches the weather we're being told is coming around, and the climate change is happening. So all climate change deniers, says Jordan Vecchio on Twitter, how does this not scare you? This is a photo from my friend in Kelowna, sent me last night. The fires are no joke, and continue to sit here and claim that it isn't caused by the climate crisis is completely irresponsible. Wake up. This isn't a joke. To which replied from Oilfield Trash here on Twitter, this is terrible what climate change did. Oh, wait, this picture is from Kelowna in 2003, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there was another fire that was very reminiscent to this. And I mean, it's no joke that these fires are taking place, but the blame, I think, is being misdirected. And we're not going to learn the lesson from this if we don't actually take care of the things that are causing such things. I mean, you can't, well, I mean, what are you going to do about arson besides put people in jail? But natural causes cause these fires. It's a fact that they're raging out of control is maybe something that we should be putting our focus to. Now, the premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, was asked about this on the news on CTV, and this is what she had to say in response to this.
But in terms of a link, Premier, do you believe that climate change and the unprecedented wildfires we've been seeing this summer are at all related?
All I know is in my province, we had 650 fires and 500 of them were human caused. So we have to make sure that when people know that when it's dry out there and we get into forest fire season, that they're being a lot more careful, because anytime you end up with an ignition that happens, it can have devastating consequences. And so that's what I would hope that we can educate the public on that front as well.
Now, that's a large number of the fires, 650 fires that took place. 500 of them were human caused, whether it was arson or incidents, irresponsible campers, things like that. And these things do happen, and these are the things that we should be watching out for. Now, when it comes to the statistics on this, Polling Canada put out a list of how the causes of these fires in 2023 so far. 63.1 have been caused by natural occurrences. So natural occurrences would be lightning strikes or something of similar circumstances. Not necessarily saying climate change. So the whole climate change thing is to say that the soil is drier over the course of because of climate change. We'll get into some of that in a bit here. But 31.6% have been caused by human related occurrences. This is across Canada, and there's lots of forest fires that are way out in the middle of nowhere, and it's hard to say that those were caused by humans, but a lot of the ones that are happening around, residential areas or just outside of these areas have been determined that they were caused by humans in these cases. Now, Twitter is exploding with the calls of this being cases of arson. We have the climate change strike on box matches. When the narrative isn't working, you go out there and you use these things. The memes have been getting going here, and a lot of people are saying that a lot of this is due to arson. Here's another case of massive fires that broke out in the Canary Islands. Evacuations are going on, but what are the causes? What was the cause of these fires? They're happening all over the world right now, and a lot of people are very suspicious. Well, why? Because wildfire on Spain's popular tourist island of Tenerife was started deliberately, officials say, and people are being arrested all over the place for starting these fires. And What are their motives? Well, it's hard to tell at this point, but a lot of this is coming into question. Now, also what's happening is, where are the supplies for these fires? We have reports that the supplies in the Kelowna region for the firefighters have been stolen repeatedly from their places where they keep their equipment.
Are not there like a pump. I can't think of another time where it's at the scale of what's happening right now. Like, again, we'll have a pump or hose or stuff stolen every now and then, and that's expected, but the amount of stuff that's stolen and like repeatedly we'll set it up and it will be gone and set it up and will be gone. That is, beyond what normally happens. There's people that showed up at our fire camp ready to loot our entire fire camp, again, on dirt bikes with just empty bags. And that didn't happen because we had people there and no altercation or anything. It's just, I'm sure they thought there was an empty fire camp. They could just go and take everything. But it would greatly help us if our stuff was there and not stolen. Which is, mind-boggling. We have to have this conversation.
Yes, it's absolutely mind-boggling that people would be stealing equipment from the firefighters when they're trying to take care of these fires that are consuming people's homes at this moment. People have been evacuated from the area. Kelowna fire started on Tuesday, and water bombers didn't start working until Thursday when the fire was well out of control. Why was it not attacked with the full force when it was under an acre? Forest fires around Kelowna are nothing new. Why don't we have these boats which can stream 600 feet away from 20 stories high? Why don't we have those? I don't know. We're spending our money on sex toys for rock stars, apparently. This is where our money's going in Canada. We're not really looking out for Canadians and their properties, but well, the theories are coming out immediately. Lahaina and Kelowna are both set to be smart cities. Is there a coincidence to this? I don't know. This is something that a lot of people are speculating about online today. Dear normies, the world you used to know is being systemically destroyed by a bunch of elite globalist psychopaths. Now would be a great time to wake up. This is footage of the fires in Kelowna at the moment. This is unbelievable. Ken Winsor putting out a Twitter poll saying, are you like me? With all the Trudeau talk of climate change, are you suspicious that the Liberals are funding the arsonists? And a large number of people replied to that saying yes. And well, perhaps I'll leave a comment or a link in the description down below where you can go and read the comments on this thread here. Now, of course, MPs are coming out and making their declarations here. Liberal MP Catherine McKenna chose to go out on Twitter and say conservative politicians want to fight about the price of carbon pollution. They're calling it pollution now. They used to call it carbon emissions. They're full on gone to the extent of calling it a pollutant now. It's an element. It's not a... Anyway, get into that. You want to make it free to pollute while Canadians pay with their lives threatened, homes destroyed, and their communities obliterated. So what are you going to do? You are the arsonists, they say, about the conservatives. So just opposing taxes taxes don't stop forest fires. Last time I checked, they don't prevent forest fires. But this is the accusation here that if you don't support these new taxes, you are an arsonist in some indirect way. Now, this is Catherine McKenna on the floor of the Parliament using the usual rhetoric here and bolstering and cackling about climate change.
I feel like the party opposite. You're worried about cost. You should be worried about the cost that we are passing on to our kids, the cost of climate change. Yeah. We have got an emergency here, and the party opposite is not telling the truth to Canadians. Why don't they step up? Why don't they step up for climate action? Why don't step up for the economy of the future and stop misleading Canadians?
If you thought that sounded unhinged, well, let's have a listen to what she had to say when she was drunk at the bar. This is pointed out by Marty up north. Former Minister McKenna got drunk and proudly boasted about lying and that if you say it louder, if you repeat it, people will totally believe anything. It worked with COVID. it's working with climate change. Don't believe the lies. And fast forward to the part where she actually says this.
It is because there's nobody from Missouri here.
But you know, I actually gave them some real advice. I said that if you actually say it louder, we've learned in the House of Commons, if you repeat it, if you say it louder, if that is your talking point, people will totally believe it. So just go it. St. John's, oldest city.
Perfect. It's on the sign right now. You don't have to change the thing.
You don't have to change the sign. Thank God.
Yeah, people will totally believe it. All you got to do is repeat the lie. Wait, who said that before? That was Joseph Goebbels of Germany under Hitler's rule. He was the minister of propaganda. Yes, that's right. They no longer use that term propaganda. It's become it has a negative connotation thanks to Joseph Goebbels. Now they call it public relations. Or maybe, anyway, we can get into that. But here we have, in 1933, National Socialists set fire to the Reichstag building, blaming a Dutch communist in an attempt to take control of Germany. Here we are in 2023, where international socialists set fire to the forests, blaming climate change in an attempt to take control of the world. And this is really where we're at. Now, the National Telegraph here did a report about this, and this was the one part, and I'll leave a link in the description so you can check out this whole video. But I really wanted to make this point as the classless McKenna was making attacks at conservatives as arsonists for opposing a carbon tax. He makes this really, really good point here.
Slowly over the years, sure, but you're not going to have an explosion of fires one year to the next simply because the temperature in the country overall has risen by 1/10 of a degree over the past 10 years or so. That's not how anything works. I actually think 1/10 of a degree over 10 years is faster than they're claiming it's going up. But that's obviously not how it works. And this is where like really good forest management does come into play. That the countries, like the provinces and states in the US and Canada that usually have the worst fire problems are usually the ones that have the most environmental protections against logging, that they don't allow a lot of logging to take place, or they have entire zones where you're not allowed to do anything. A lot of dead wood builds up over decades, and then you eventually have a massive wildfire. That's usually how it worked back in the day when people weren't around North America, is that you were eventually going to have a wildfire after enough dead leaves and trees built up on the forest floor and made it very easy for a fire to spread. This is why we do not have like super bad wildfires every single year. We have seasons where it's not really all that bad, even if it was dry one year, and we have years where it was dry and then the fire absolutely exploded. It depends on the material that the fire is able to burn that year. And this is where...
Hey, too much common sense going on over here at the National Telegraph. I'll leave a link in the description. Check out the video in its entirety because it's a lot of sense made. Now, the New York Post put this out just a few weeks ago saying scientists admits that the overwhelming consensus on the climate change crisis is manufactured. Oh no, we're told that climate change is a crisis and that there is an overwhelming scientific consensus. It's manufactured consensus, climate scientist Judith Curry tells me, writes John Stossel. And he has a video here where he interviews her talking about how they considered her a rock star when she came out and she had data that suggested that the climate was changing, or, well, I mean, climate is always changing, but that suggested, made suggestions that weathers would get more intense. When that data turned out to be wrong, she was no longer a rock star and she became a pariah. Here she is talking about that.
She knows about that because she once spread alarm about climate change. And the media loved her when she published this study saying there was an increase in hurricane intensity.
We found that the percent of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes had doubled.
Really? Doubled?
And so this was picked up by the media. Alarmists said, oh, here's the way to do it.
It being, get the public alarmed.
Climate change is making hurricanes stronger and more destructive.
Tie extreme weather events to global warming.
So this hysteria is your fault.
Well, sort of. Not really. They would have picked up on it anyways.
But Curry's more intense hurricanes gave them fuel.
I was adopted by the environmental advocacy groups and the alarmists, and I was treated like a rock star.
What does that mean, treated like a rock
Oh
star?
my God, I was flown all over the place to meet with politicians and to give these talks and lots of media attention.
But then some researchers pointed out gaps in her research, years with low levels of hurricanes.
So like a good scientist, I went in and investigated all that stuff.
She realized her critics were right.
Part of it was bad data. Part of it is natural climate variability.
So you're the unusual researcher who looks at criticism of your paper and actually concluded they had a point.
They had a point for sure.
Then the ClimateGate scandal taught Curry that many researchers aren't so open-minded. Leaked emails showed university climate scientists conspiring to hide data.
It showed a lot of really ugly things. Avoiding Freedom of Information Act requests, trying to get journal editors fired from their job.
One email read, "If you think this Yale professor is in the skeptics camp, get him ousted." Seeing emails like that made Curry realize that climate change fanatics had corrupted the science because there's a climate change industry set up to reward alarmism.
Okay, I'll leave a link in the description. You can check out the entire video in its entirety. But this is the trend. This is the way it's been going with climate science. The climate gate scenario there that they were talking about was a series of emails that came out saying, hide the decline. There was a decline in actual temperatures at one point, and the scientists were communicating with each other, and those emails came out because of Freedom of Information Act requests, and guessed it, yeah, they were conspiring to hide the decline and hide that decline in lowering temperatures, make it look like those temperatures are going up. And I've showed you countless times where there are studies that show that a lot of the data that comes out about temperatures have been skewed because of poor upkeep of those stations and where they've been located. Now, a lot of theories have come out over the years and none of them have come true. Why is it that we still believe what they have to say?
Did you know that in the 1960s, they told everyone that oil was going to be gone in 10 years? In the 70s, another ice age was coming in 10 years. In the 80s, acid rain was going to destroy all of our crops in 10 years. In the 90s, the ozone layer was going to be destroyed in 10 years. And in 2000, they told us that ice caps were going to be gone in 10 years. So I don't know if it's just me, but I'm kind of sensing a theme here. It's just kind of coincidental that none of that actually happened. But we were taxed for all of it.
Yeah, we sure were. We sure were taxed for all of it. But we're all looking at the graphs, and we see that carbon dioxide is going up because we're consuming fossil fuels. The carbon dioxide's going up, and here are the graphs that show that, hey, it looks like there's a correlation here with the temperatures going up with that there. Here's another graph that shows that here. Oh, wait a second. This is a much larger picture. If you zoom way out, oh wow, that's 600 million years of human history, and we're seeing that uptick is right here. Temperatures have been much higher and much lower throughout history, and they don't really seem to correlate with the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. In fact, there's been periods where carbon dioxide have been immensely higher than they are today, with carbon dioxide in the Jurassic period being about 2,000 parts per million instead of the just below 400 that we have today. We're told that if it goes above 500, that'll be the end of life on the planet. But if you look at the Precambrian period when life began, it was just about 6,000 parts per million. But hey, don't trust me, trust a scientist, at least a politician. You can go trust a politician. They'll tell you what to think, absolutely. But hey, I'll leave it with you guys. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of this whole scenario and of the poor people in Kelowna that their homes are being burned down as they've been evacuated, and it seems like they're very ill-equipped to take care of the situation that's going on there and also in the Northwest Territories, and as we're seeing fires raging in different parts of the country. But leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.